On Thursday the 9th of November, the following story appeared on Reporting Scotland.
Tonight on Reporting Scotland, an £11,000 iPad roaming bill racked up by a government minister.
Health Secretary Michael Matheson had run up an £11,000 bill on his iPad while holidaying in Morocco. The minister had failed to change a SIM card in the device before going abroad. Following a barrage of political criticism, he announced he would pay the bill himself. Matheson had broken no rules. He had, belatedly, done the right thing. However, opponents queried how the minister had managed to run up such a huge bill, especially when he insisted he had used the iPad for constituency work. A 6-day witch hunt began, spearheaded by BBC Scotland.
The Scottish Conservatives say they'll table a vote of no confidence in the Health Secretary unless he hands over his iPad for examination. The fallout over the £11,000 bill that Health Secretary Michael Matheson racked up on his parliamentary iPad while on holiday continues, with new details of the costs.
Our top story this morning, Michael Matheson faces questions as newly published documents show the Health Secretary racked up £7,000 of data roaming fees in one day.
So it's not quite the end of the matter. Michael Matheson will try to explain if he's able to make that statement here at Holyrood tomorrow. His political opponents want him to hand over the iPad so that it can be examined in detail what it was used for during that period. And if that doesn't happen, the Conservatives are threatening to hold a vote of no confidence in Mr Matheson as a minister.
In the face of a relentless out-of-proportion attack by the public service broadcaster, Michael Matheson gave an emotional statement to the Scottish Parliament. He revealed his children had used the iPad as a hotspot to watch football. BBC Scotland responded by forming a political kangaroo court and proclaiming the minister guilty of lying. It had the evidence. A short interview Matheson had given days before.
It was a different story to what he'd told the BBC earlier on the Monday.
Were other people using the iPad, were using your equipment, and is that why the bill was so... Can you tell us why the bill's so large?
No, the reason for that was because it was an old SIM card that was in it.
A genuine blunder caused by an old SIM card was now being presented as a scandal. A vague boilerplate answer was being portrayed as evidence that Matheson was a serial liar unfit for office. BBC Scotland headlined the story for a further 5 days.
Tonight on Reporting Scotland, the Health Secretary says an £11,000 data roaming bill on his parliamentary iPad was run up by his sons watching football. Scotland's Health Secretary Michael Matheson avoided questions today about the huge data roaming charge he incurred on a family trip to Morocco.
Can voters still trust you here after all that's been said and done?
Good evening. The First Minister says the Health Secretary should have handled the situation better over his £11,000 iPad roaming charge bill.
This is about him misleading the public, and that's why I think he should resign. I don't think the First Minister or the Parliament should have any confidence in Michael Matheson. He should resign.
We have a Health Secretary in Scotland who blatantly lies.
I understand the Conservatives want more answers from the Health Secretary before pushing for a motion of no confidence.
But does the broadcaster treat all political parties the same? Back in November 2021, it emerged that Douglas Ross had failed to declare over £17,000 in earnings while serving as an MP. Ross gave an interview to STV in which he claimed not to know why he failed to declare the money on time, insisting he had previously done it.
Why didn't I register these payments on time? And there is no answer. It should have been done. I'd previously done it, and there are no excuses.
8 days later he gave an interview to BBC Scotland. This time Ross claimed he believed it hadn't been necessary to declare the cash. This contradicted what he'd told STV.
Well, why didn't you declare your earnings from 2 other jobs?
Because I genuinely thought because the money was going directly to local charities, then that wasn't necessary.
But there was no relentless pursuit of Douglas Ross by BBC Scotland. No hounding of the Scottish Tory leader. Why did BBC Scotland adopt a different approach with Michael Matheson? The iPad story, an embarrassing blunder, but nothing more, has featured on BBC Scotland for 13 consecutive days. And it's going to go on. The public has a right to expect consistency from the BBC. If one senior politician is to be pursued relentlessly over apparent contradictory statements relating to expenses or earnings, then all senior politicians should be similarly scrutinised. But that isn't happening. BBC Scotland is employing selective scrutiny.